for invocation. All right, Laura. All right. The February 6, 2023 session of the Anne Arundel County Council is called to order. Please silence all electronic devices at this time. Please stand for invocation and a pledge of allegiance. Mr. Volke, you have invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before the invocation, I would ask that you all join me in a moment of silence for those who lost their lives in Syria and Turkey this morning. So far, I've seen the count is over 3,800 souls. So let's take a moment of silence for them. Thank you. Please pray in a manner consistent with your faith as I do the same. God, we are living in uncertain times. Fear is around us. It is easy to focus on the negative, but you've given us so many blessings. Help us to focus on what unites us rather than what divides us, and through it all, we know that you are bigger than these temporal things. Please show us your presence. Guide us, lead us in wisdom and truth with an eye toward the command to love one another. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, please read the ethics statement.
The Ethics Commission has asked that I advise you that under certain circumstances, members of the public may qualify as lobbyists when they testify before the County Council. If so, the law requires that certain information be filed with the Ethics Commission. The chair of the Ethics Commission has asked that those who wish to testify in any form review the general information on lobbying sheet located on the ethics website under forms and publications. If there are any questions about lobbying requirements, please contact the Ethics Commission at 410-222-4413.
We will now open up our invitation to the audience. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimonial tool?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we did. We received 3 submissions. Those were all added to a summary that is posted online on the council's website for everybody to see. They will be added to the record.
Thank you. We will now invite members of the audience who signed up before the meeting to address the council briefly on any subject not included in the printed agenda. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. So will the following people please come up to the table, take a seat, state your name and address for the record, and deliver your remarks. So can I get Mr. Jonathan Max Sommer, Nick Berg, Cynthia Williams, Claire Greiner, and Kurt Stevenson? Or maybe that's, oh, that Kurt, oh. I know that guy. Mr. Max, please.
Jonathan Max Sommer, Director at Large, Provinces Civic Association. I live at 7967 Citadel Drive in Severn. Speak tonight, I'll get right to the point. Please move the West County Swim Center project out of Provinces Park. It's the only true green space we have. The local community overwhelmingly opposes building there, as do hundreds more throughout West County and beyond. You all have important work to do, so I didn't bring a big crowd tonight. However, in front of each of you is a petition with 1,100 signatures from Anne Arundel County residents who oppose building the swim center in Provinces Park, including 600 comments and letters explaining why. I've read every single one of them, and I hope you will as well. This isn't just not in my backyard. We love Provinces Park, and we love having it in our backyard. Many people hate this plan for many different reasons, and you can't fix most of them at this site. If you need a clear, bright line, Recon Park's new design proves it's not possible to build the swim center at Provinces Park while keeping the green space and having enough parking for current soccer usage, never mind the swim center itself. The new design has 300 spaces including overflow. Soccer uses more than that. The swim center building would replace the big field used for overflow parking on game days, which is legit green space the rest of the time. So it's actually a net loss in parking. Either they're going to displace soccer, or they'll have to kill more fields to add more parking, and therefore still kill soccer. And that's without anyone using the swim center. Even if Recon Parks does find a way to run the swim center with 1/3 of the absolute minimum parking their study indicated, the numbers just don't work. Speaking of numbers, one reason Recon Parks chose to sacrifice Provinces Park for the swim center was declining usage. Provinces Park is not underutilized, it's overcapacity. DRP checked JPYO's soccer numbers, but apparently missed counting Arundel Soccer's 1,000 kids. They use every scrap of grass, including the baseball fields and the space between fields. Also, hundreds of people of all ages, mostly coming on foot, use Provinces Park every day for non-sports activities, even in winter. We should count too. Please save Provinces Park and build the swim center somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burke?
Good evening. My name is Nick Berg. I live at 604 Forest Hills Drive in District 6. I'm here representing Save Quiet Waters Park, a nonpartisan group dedicated to citizen engagement in planning our parks. Personally, and on behalf of all Quiet Waters Park supporters, we are grateful to Anne Arundel County for acquiring the 19 acres Quiet Waters Parks retreat to preserve it. Residents from every corner of Anne Arundel County and beyond visit the park. We all agree that preserving natural areas, especially in our parks, is vital to the well-being of county residents, their families, and the animals that live in those habitats. But we support early citizen engagement in the planning process for the use of our parkland. Land use planners generally acknowledge that early engagement of citizens results in far superior decisions and, in this instance, superior park designs. Early citizen engagement also prevents errors which can lead to community opposition and fiscal waste. Last week, I participated in a small gathering of about a half a dozen people discussing individual visions for the park. It was a very successful meeting. In the coming months, Save Quiet Waters Park will host many more meetings with citizens and groups to gather their information and their visions to present to the county in a unified manner. We will invite neighbors from across the county, even the state, gather many ideas and articulate diverse citizens' visions for the future of the newly acquired Quiet Waters Park Retreat property. If you'd like to join one of our citizens planning groups, we can be emailed at savequietwaters@gmail.com. We look forward to working closely with the Friends of Quiet Waters Park, South Arundel Citizens for Responsible Development, the County Department of Rec and Parks, and doing our part to make Anne Arundel County continue to be the best place for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
Good evening. I'm Cynthia Williams, President of the Provinces Civic Association in Severn. I'm here to speak about the West County Swim Center, the proposal that the county build the swim center in the Provinces Park in Severn. Pardon me. The feasibility study that the county did not take into account the impact on the neighboring communities, nor the disruption of the current activities that take place in our park. I was going to talk about the playing fields, but Jonathan has already spoken about that. So I'd just like to say that the addition of the swim center in the Provinces Park would take away precious green space for the communities, which is scarce in West County. The Recs and Parks presented their redesign of the swim center at a meeting last week, but it's still problematic, and we believe it would be an inappropriate location for the swim center, and we would like it to be placed in a different location. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Grant?
Claire Greiner, 7967 Citadel Drive in Severn. For the West County Swim Center, please give Rec and Parks leeway on cost if they pick a good new site, not Provinces Park. The LPPRP says residents strongly support spending public funds to acquire and conserve open and natural spaces. We have very few parks in West County. Building on them to save money should not be the default. It should be the last resort and reserved for the most dire needs. Most of our community does support building a swim center, just not in Provinces Park. Our preferred site is half a mile away next to Meade Middle and High Schools. There's Army land the county can get for free. There's also private land for sale there. If they really want to start building quickly, Rec and Parks could buy the private land. Building at Meade would make the swim center available to 3,000 students for daily use. Children who couldn't otherwise afford access could swim during PE for free, which helps with the equity problem of spending $50 million public dollars on a pay-to-play amenity. Spending a little more to build in a better and more equitable location is worth it. You'll likely more than offset the cost with a DoD grant anyway, and I understand LDC would fund it too. I also ask that this council ensure all capital projects get representative input from affected communities before approving a site. Mr. Pittman's newsletter that said that Rec and Parks will do more and earlier engagement for future projects. Great, please hold them to it and make them prove it. Ramming projects through without community input is actively harmful. It takes a real toll on the physical and mental health of nearby residents. The stress and anxiety since learning about the swim center has cost me countless hours of sleep, impacted my work, and almost cost me my new degree. I know I'm not alone in this. So please save Provinces Park, build it at Mead or somewhere else that actually makes sense and equitably serves the community. And please make sure future projects have real community involvement before funding them so nobody ever has to go through this nightmare again. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kurt?
Hi, my name is Kurt Svensson. I live in Arnold. It's been a while since I last testified. Many of you know me, some do not. A little more than a year ago, I took an early retirement to devote myself to self-imposed citizen advocacy work. After working 25 years for Anne Arundel County government, mostly as the assistant budget officer, I provided lots of testimony in those early months of my retirement. But I've learned a thing or two since then. You're never too old for that. Acting alone is not as effective and efficient as developing relationships with people and other organizations, listening to different perspectives, and working together to co-create a better future for us all. So I've been busy with that lately. My written testimony tonight is a personal sharing of my background and beliefs as a prelude to what is going to be many policy and practice-focused submissions over the coming months and years. So I'm not going to read aloud the next 3 paragraphs of that. You can read them if you wish, but I just want to share this to emphasize my liberal credentials to my colleagues in the Democratic Party, yet at the same time to demonstrate my traditional beliefs. I think it's ironic that much of my testimony before this body, and there's been a lot of that, has been in opposition to matters supported by the council majority and our county executive. I am a Democrat, and prior to the most recent election, I participated in 6 county elections, yet I voted for a Republican county executive as many times as I voted for a Democrat. And, as it turns out, I've always voted for the eventual winner. I think that is reflective of the free-thinking, open-minded nature of Anne Arundel County citizens. They don't just follow party line. So that's my introduction. I've got a lot of experience in Anne Arundel County government finance, and in the coming months, I'm going to be publicly telling you what I think, whether you like it or not. Thank you.
Well, we welcome the testimony. Thank you all for coming up and providing the testimony for your particular issues. You may be seated back in your area.
Mr. Chair.
Madam.
I'd just like to say welcome back to Mr. Svensson.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Please come up to the table, state your name, address, and topic before making your remarks. You will get 2 minutes. And we'll go from right to left, since you were the first one to sit down.
Thank you. My name is Stephen Waddy. I live at 7968 Heather Miss Drive. I also oppose the swim center at Provinces since I love Provinces. And I lived in Lake Village, and you don't see many Lake Village people at all in any of these public discussions. So it was very, very fun to be able to be at the meeting the other night with you as well. Tonight, I also want to say that I wanted to support increased funding for the Police Accountability Board in the upcoming budget. Best practices from the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement states that the budget for an oversight agency should be at least 1% of the budget of the agency it is overseeing. The Police Accountability Board oversees 5 law enforcement agencies in the county and does not have 1% of the budget of the largest agency, which is the Anne Arundel County Police Department. We recommend a budget increase to at least $3.5 million in order to build a police accountability board that is effective, transparent, and widely known throughout the county with investigative powers that it should be granted should have been granted in the original discussion, but there's a state bill right now. I hope you all will send messages to your state delegates and your state senator in support of adding investigatory powers for the Police Accountability Board. And I believe the executive director is also working for the county executive in 2 different roles, which likely will affect, to me, is an ethical issue, and likely will affect the performance of the Police Accountability Board. So I definitely hope that you all will ban county employees from participating on the Police Accountability Board as well, because Cecil County has banned county employees from participating on their Police Accountability Board. And I hope that the NAACP and other organizations can be involved in the choosing of a new executive director. Haven't heard from anybody at the county executive's office. Maybe I'm on their bad list, but
Thank you.
hopefully that'll happen. Thank you.
Nope. Thank you, Ms. Waddy. Ma'am?
Hello, my name is Louise Thomas, 1305 Anglesey Drive, Davidsonville. I'm president of the Tennis Alliance of Anne Arundel County. I'm here to say greetings to the new county council and to ask that something be done to fix the process used to execute capital projects for rec and parks. The tennis center at Millersville Park project moved through the process for 8 years, from the LPPRP, planning board studies, endless approvals. In fiscal year 22, there was $6.5 million in capital funding. Money was approved and spent on planning and design. Today, the countywide project is gone. Nothing. No money, no site. So what happened? The process to execute was shifted to a first ever RFP effort by Rec and Parks. Then a proposed lease to Coppermine failed. That's when the process broke down. The lease failed, but there was no process to address the fact that the need remained, the benefits remained, the $6 million remained, the Millersville site remained. The process somehow allowed the county executive to pull the entire project from the budget without any discussion. The county council had no opportunity to discuss or debate any option for a path forward without the Coppermine lease. I also asked by what process the Millersville site is declared not appropriate for tennis because of traffic, lights, and noise, but yet the site suddenly is perfectly appropriate for fields that have more traffic, noise, and lights. Something went wrong with the process. The need for a tennis center is not going to go away. The past 3 years, recreational tennis has surged, along with pickleball. Tennis alone has grown by more than 33% across the country. Our neighboring counties have 17 indoor public tennis facilities. Anne Arundel County has none. The tennis community is waiting to see what plans Rec and Park has for the future, and I thank you for your support and for all that you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir?
Paul Higgins, Woodholm Circle, Pasadena. Kind of pick up where Kurt left off. I think the last time I sat in this chair it was Budget Amendment Monday, or I was sitting in the front row. And I want to remind the council of something of an amendment that was introduced and accepted by your predecessors, or maybe even some of you. And that was there was a budget amendment in the capital budget to put a traffic light at Ashbury and Creekstone. The budget was amended to include relieving traffic on Woodholm Circle. And I would ask, as we move forward with this process, that we don't lose sight of what is in the justification. This has been an issue to our community for a long time. Some of you that are sitting up there know, you heard in the testimony, you're going to hear a lot more, okay? I will bring forth a couple things. I think the current project, I understand, is in planning. I can't get any more updates than it's in planning. We got into this at the last minute on the last budget cycle. I don't want to be there. The community doesn't want to be there. We believe there is some room, and some of those supposedly went into the study that they're going to be referencing in front of you. That's shot, as far as I'm concerned, it's riddled full of holes. Case in point, in the primary recommendation, They say that they're gonna put a light in and provide 2 new parallel roads to relieve traffic from Woodholm to get over to the access to light. Well, guess what? This report came out in August. There's a house built on one of them lots. So how can I believe somebody didn't know what was going on when they wrote this report, other than I was trying to be hoodwinked? We were trying to be sold a bill of goods. And somebody needs to be held accountable from our perspective, okay? This does not help build trust between the community that was there, has seen things grow up around it. And we get to this point.
Thank you.
Again, we're willing to sit down and work, but there's gotta be communications. That comes out of Department of Public
Thank you.
Works.
Sir, what city was that in again?
What's
That
that?
intersection?
The intersection is Ashbury
And Creekstone?
and Creekstone. It's the section of Jumpers Hole Road that goes between Mountain Road and Ritchie Highway, that
Yes, sir.
little
Thank you. Appreciate it.
leg through there.
Appreciate your testimony. Thank you.
No problem, thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Good evening, Sir Chairman, Madam Chair, Vice Chair. Sorry, it was a long day. Just came over from being with the state for nomination committee over in the Miller Building. I'm Wayne Dixon, 7677 Ridge Chapel Road, Hanover, Maryland, 21076. I'm in the district of the chairman. The reason why I'm here this evening is a few things. I concur with the first gentleman that spoke of the oversight board for the for Anne Arundel County Police. I concur with his input. B, I concur with the madam about the tennis courts. And of course, C, with the gentleman on Jumpers Hole Road. I've driven that road, and yeah. My other things that I concur with is with the province's community and surrounding communities dealing with the swim center. Quickly, we have something called Harmon's Park, and it was done by now Senator Bidle when she was sitting where you are now, and prior to her with the legend George Bachman in my community to get a park for our area. Joe Cannon Stadium is there. That process took, let me see, about 25 years from 1981 to a little bit past the turn of the century for us to get parkland, and then another about 10 years ago to really get the money to be able to develop it, a little bit before the advent of the casino, but casino LDC money helped. The challenge here is that Provinces Park and the Harmon Civic Association, which was established back in 1967, concurs with, yes, a swim center is needed in West County, but wanting to put it on a county park when the mandate is to protect and expand green space is not logical. Now, I understand from a business standpoint, you don't have to knock down any trees, you don't have to put in a whole bunch of roads, the land's already clear. But for $50 million, there's this place called Robin Hood Dell that used to be a trailer park on Old Ridge Road. In addition to what the Sir Chairman recommended to place too, those two things should be considered. I think they'd be a better fit and better for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your public testimony. You may be seated. Is there any other person interested in any comments today? All right, seeing none, the invitation to audience is now closed. Is there any item any council member would like to place on the agenda? All right, seeing none, may I have a motion that the partial reading of any bill, resolution, amendment to a bill, or resolution, or minutes constitutes the reading of the whole?
So moved, Allison Pickard.
Rodbean, second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Secretary, please read the minutes of January 17, 2023.
The County Council meeting was called to order by Chair Smith at 7 p.m. It was opened with the invocation given by Apostle Antonio Palmer from the Kingdom Celebration Center and was followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 17, 2023? Can I have a second?
Second.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The motion carries. The minutes of January 17, 2023 stand approved as read. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of any bills to be introduced this evening.
Bill number 723, an ordinance concerning personnel, positions in the classified service, position control. Bill number 823, an ordinance concerning personnel, positions in the classified service. Bill number 923, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development, adequate public facilities, public schools. Bill number 1023, floodplain management, erosion and sediment control, and stormwater management, subdivision and development, water quality improvement projects. Bill number 1123, an ordinance concerning zoning, mixed-use districts, uses under the optional method of development.
Madam Secretary, please read the titles of any resolutions to be introduced this evening.
Resolution number 123, resolution selecting SB and Company LLC, an independent firm of certified public accountants to perform the financial audit for fiscal year 2023.
And for the record, we will vote on Resolution 123 after our bills this evening. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 123.
Bill number 123, an emergency ordinance concerning zoning, general provisions, uses and structures, temporary uses.
See Mr. Barron coming up. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the council. You will recall Bill 123 from our work session. Actually, before I start, I should introduce the folks at the table, right? I have our county attorney and yours, Mr. Greg Swain, and from Office of Planning and Zoning, Lynn Miller. As I was saying, 123 was discussed at the work session. It further amends the sunset date of Bill 5521, which extended the temporary use authorization of outdoor seating at restaurants. The new proposed sunset is January 2nd, 2024. You know, we all have probably dined outside during this pandemic. Outdoor dining has provided a lifeline for our restaurants, allowing them to remain open and support the jobs for our county residents. Many of our restaurants have made significant investments to expand outdoor seating. Through the continuation of these relaxed regulations, we hope to protect those investments that they have made, especially as we hope the warmer months are visible on the horizon. This is an emergency ordinance, allowing it to take effect immediately upon signing. We are happy to answer any questions you may have, and we ask that you pass the bill tonight.
Mr. Wilkie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy to co-sponsor this and the continued iterations of the outdoor dining, and I'm looking forward to hopefully some sort of permanent solution on this. But I had a constituent reach out to me about this issue of outdoor dining, and specifically the question was regarding some liquor board licenses that they were having to pay for outdoor dining. Is there anything that this bill is requiring in terms of those licenses, or is that separate and just something that's through the liquor board exclusively?
Ask our county attorney.
Good evening, Greg Swain, county attorney. We did talk with the liquor board about this bill, and that is a separate matter, would be handled through them.
Thank you. And did that predate this bill, or is that something that's come about through this legislation in the pandemic and then the continuations?
I believe it's always been that way.
Always been. Okay. Thank you.
Madam.
Thank you. This is a question I asked at the work session, but I'm asking it again for the benefit of the public. Since the emergency ordinance originally went into effect, have we had any feedback, negative feedback from neighboring businesses or residents about outdoor dining?
While I'm not aware of every piece of feedback the county has gotten, overwhelmingly it's been positive. The couple of issues that have cropped up are usually addressed by planning and zoning, making a call or going over to the restaurant and working with the restaurant owner.
Thank you.
And briefly, just to piggyback off the liquor board issue, so the line in there, all authorizations and permits and permissions required by law. If a business has a liquor license and they are, would that constitute authorizations and permits and permissions be encumbered in that line? So if they were required, okay, I just want to put that on record because I think similar liquor board members employees had reached out to me in reference to this, and I couldn't say for sure, but it certainly appeared that way to me, and so it's good to hear that from a context standpoint that you too believe that any sort of liquor requirements are met by that language.
Correct.
Okay. Any other? Okay. All right, Madam, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 123. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimonies through the online testimony tool?
Mr. Chair, we did not receive anything ahead of time.
Is there anyone from the audience who would like to speak about Bill number 123? Please come up at this time. And please state your name and address for the record. And
My name is Stephen Whiting. I live at 7968 Heather Miss Drive. I just find it interesting that we're continuing an emergency ordinance from 2020 when we had several emergency ordinances related to housing and the continued rates of housing going up that Andrew Pruski introduced. It limited rental increases from 3% at 3%. We've seen rents increase. The people who have died from is an overwhelming difference, disproportionate nature in terms of the people who have died from COVID being homeless. But yet the concern from this administration has constantly been, I don't even think they asked workers whether or not they've been offered free vaccinations since vaccinations are no longer free for the various strains. Just the decision making around these emergency ordinances related to COVID at the time was questionable and remains questionable, especially around all these other economic issues hitting all of these workers that are never brought up at this meeting and generally ignored by the administration. So I would encourage Republicans to vote against this maybe once after you all were able to negotiate with the administration to keep this going and take masks away. We ended masking. I still have to wear a mask where I work. And I generally would be wearing a mask in here because this is a petri dish to me. And it still would have airborne viruses circulating within it. So it's very interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony.
No vote.
Anyone else wishes to speak on Bill 123? Seeing no movement, the public hearing on Bill 123 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 123.
Bill number 123, an emergency ordinance concerning zoning, general provisions, uses and structures, temporary uses.
Is there any further discussion from any council members? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 123.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Radvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Bill number 123 has been passed.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 223.
Bill number 223, an ordinance concerning private disposition of surplus real property, approval of terms and conditions, Overly Drive in Severna Park, Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pete Barron with the administration. We discussed this bill at the work session as well. Bill 2-23 is a follow-up to Resolution 11-22, which approved the surplus designation of 0.058 acre county-owned property located on the north side of Overly Drive in Severna Park. The county surplus process is a multi-step process, as the veterans on the council know. New folks, you'll be learning this more. The bill before you today moves forward with the disposition process For those unfamiliar with the property, it is a portion of a larger lot on which a house it currently sits. The house was built significantly encroaching on the county right of way, and a stop work order has been put in place. Upon title review, it was revealed that the county and a private party have competing ownership claims to that portion of the property. This bill, along with Resolution 1122, before it, are steps to resolve the cloud on the title by conveying that portion of the parcel to whatever extent the county has an ownership claim to the private party. As part of the agreement of sale, though, for the county stake in that property, the final conveyance of the county-owned portion is contingent on the developer removing the portion of the structure that is encroaching on the right-of-way. And that should be in the agreement of sale, which you do have. We do have an amendment that we'll discuss at the appropriate time. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there any discussion from any council member? So we'll now open the public hearing on bill number 223. We do have someone that signed up in advance, Ms. Sally Mitchell. Sally Mitchell, not here? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to sign or like to come up and speak about bill number 223? Seeing no movement, Madam Secretary, we will now, got a little sidetracked there with the amendment.
Let me, can I just say for the record,
Yes.
we did not receive any submissions through the online testimony tool for Bill 223.
Check.
We had the one person sign up to speak. It appears that that person is not here. So if you would, if you want me to, if you want to close the public hearing, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on bill number 223.
I'll read the title in. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay. Bill number 223, an ordinance concerning private disposition of surplus real property, approval of terms and conditions, Overly Drive in Severna Park, Maryland.
Mr. Barron?
We have an amendment before you. I think somebody's got to read it across.
Okay. Secretary, go ahead and please read the amendment for bill number 223.
Sorry, computer's being slow. Amendment number 1. This amendment makes certain edits to the agreement of sale to 1. State that settlement must occur not later than 45 days after the satisfaction of contingencies. 2. Keep terminology consistent throughout the agreement. And 3. Correct the name of the Chief Administrative Officer in the signature block. And replaces Exhibit 1 with Exhibit 1A to reflect the edits.
All right. Mr. Barron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is a simple amendment. Just as these processes take time, we need to push the date back a little bit, and as Madam Administrator said, make some technical fixes.
Check. Any discussion from the council on amendment number 1? Mr. Volke?
As we established at the last meeting, I wasn't at the work session, so I'm going to lay that out. All right. Now, moving forward. Does this finish this process with this property? Is this the final step now where we don't have to hear about this and it's over? Just checking.
Greg Swain, County Attorney. This should be, so there's still some work that needs to be done by the owner of the property to remove the encroachment. So a permit has to be issued and et cetera. So there's some administrative steps that need to be taken, but this should not be coming back to council.
Okay. So we can tell people when they ask us about the blue house on Early Heights Connector, it's resolved.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Just for the record, because we are going to hopefully pass this amendment, it will have to come back at the next meeting.
Yes.
So that's at least one more time we'll hear about it.
Thank you, Mr. Barron.
Mr. Chair.
Madam?
Thank you. I appreciate this amendment, but it did spur a question. Since there is a day notation of turnaround for settlement, because the house has to go through the process of addressing the encroachment, I would assume that there is no time period that is set on that because it has to move through the standard process of permits and all of that. Is that accurate?
Well, I believe the extension of the agreement is built in enough time to go through that process. That was the intent of the amendment, to provide some additional time.
Okay. I want to make sure. Mr. Barron, were you looking to confirm?
I was just looking through it. Yeah, I think our county attorney is correct. I know all the parties were talking throughout, and they picked this date when we needed to push it back. So I think we're okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions from the council? We have a motion to adopt. Second.
Second, Peter.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll call on amendment number 1.
Ms. Hummer. Aye. Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 1 has been adopted.
So bill number 223 will be heard on February 21st, 2023. Finally got that one off. Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution number 123.
Resolution number 123. Resolution selecting SB and Company LLC, an independent firm of certified public accountants, to perform the financial audit for fiscal year 2023.
Is there any discussion? And well, I do want to call on the county auditor to explain resolution number 123.
Michelle Bolaire, County Auditor. We completed a procurement 2 years ago for a qualified certified public accounting firm licensed in the state of Maryland to perform the financial audit of the Anne Arundel County Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, the ACFR, to perform a single audit on the schedule of expenditures of federal awards and to potentially perform other services as requested. The independent CPA firm that performed the financial audit of fiscal years 2021 and 2022 ACFR was SB and Company. SB and Company is a Maryland headquartered minority business enterprise. They're a certified public accounting and business advisory firm primarily serving the Mid-Atlantic region. They are currently working on the single audit. The evaluation committee is recommending that SB and Company perform the aforementioned audits for fiscal year 2023. So we are requesting your approval of our recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional discussion on resolution 123? All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on resolution number 123.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution number 123 has been adopted.
Thank you. 1 second, Madam Secretary, I want to read something. Just give me 1 moment here. So I thought it was important before we close this session, and I'll obviously open it up to some of the other council members if they wish to make remarks. If not, that's fine. But I wanted to read this just to get it on the record. I know I posted about this previously, but as many of you have seen, the senseless video in the killing of Tyree Nichols, it had saddened me to watch the indifference that was shown to Mr. Nichols. And those who are in the position of authority have a duty to ensure application of the law is measured and appropriate. Neither was shown in that video. And as a leader in this county, it's important to always be crystal clear on where we stand on issues that impact our society. This behavior will never be accepted in our community, our neighborhoods, or our county. My condolences to the family of Mr. Tyree Nichols. And so I wanted to say that because I thought it was important as one of the leaders in this county that when issues like this impact our nation, they have a way of finding themselves down to the county level. And so as one of those leaders, I wanted to put that on the record and say this is where we stand. It's not accepted, will never be accepted. And I'm so grateful for our police chief and our police department because they've handled themselves in a very mature way over the years. But nonetheless, I still thought it was worth saying for the public. Any members Any other additional comments that need to be made tonight? Or any business to be brought before the county council at this time? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really just wanted to echo what you said. I had already made a statement on, on my public channels, but I just wanted to echo what you have said, that this is something, obviously, the issue of police brutality is not over, and we need to continue to work on it until we don't ever see a tragedy like this again in our lifetime and beyond.
Thank you. All right. Any other business to be brought before the county council at this time? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. The county council is adjourned until 9 a.m. on February 14th, 2023 for the council work session.